or merely shifts existing costs to property owners. I've sent a list of questions to one Clay or Ask Clay, whatever, and I'd like to get answers back on to those questions since I can't ask them here. The county projects approximately 9.24 million in annual assessment revenue. Does the proposed budget recognize it or assume adoption of the stormwater assessment charges? If the assessment changes or fails, which revenue and expenditure lines change and by how much? Please identify the exact general fund and transportation fund stormwater expenditures it would replace. How much of the 9.24 million replaces existing spending and how much funds new services, staff, maintenance, reserves, or capital? If costs leave those funds, will millage or other expenditures fall? If not, where will the freed revenue go? FDEP closed the county's warning letter on June 2nd. One of the big things I found in my research was that the reason for the stormwater assessment was based on the FDEP conclusion that we were not in compliance as the county. The county was not in compliance, and that the reason was lack of funds. In the compliance letter, non-compliance letter I saw, lack of funding was not an issue. So what completed cost analysis beyond a consultant scope of work or planning level estimate supports the proposed $25 per ERU rate and approximately 9.24 million annual collection? Please separate compliance, maintenance, capital reserves, and replace spending. I don't know. Does that mean I'm done?
No, you have a little bit longer.
Okay. I request an on-the-record explanation and supporting budget pages. If these figures are unavailable today, please provide written responses before the 25th hearing. The board should not treat an unadopted assessment as budget certainty and ask residents to judge a permanent revenue shift without showing what is new, what is replaced, and where the money goes. That's all.
Thank you. Mary Ann Smith.
Good morning. Good morning and thank you. I'm Mary Smith. I live at 88 Fox Valley Drive in Orange Park. And I am here today to ask the board to reconsider the budget of the Clay County Extension Office. I think that a 50% reduction in budget is rather large for a service that we need. And that's the only request I have today. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? All right, I'll close public comment and go into new business. Budget updates with Troy. And MJ.
Good morning. So at our July 23rd budget workshop, the county was working with an $8 million budget gap at that point. The board did provide direction and guidance. And so with that direction and guidance and staff going back looking at fees and recommending those updates. So based on that, the staff will be able to bring a balanced budget for consideration on September 8th, 2026. The fee schedule updates, so the proposed schedule revisions will be on the August 25th, 2026 agenda. They do include fee increases across 10 departments. Most extensive changes are in planning, health, building, fire inspections, and parks. The revisions include new fees, reductions, removals, and then other housekeeping changes. These are the most notable increases, but you were provided with the complete fee schedule that will be coming before you on August 25th. So if there's any questions on those, staff is here to answer any questions if needed. Okay. And these are continuing to be those notable changes in the engineering department specifically.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
could we go through a real quick synopsis of what all these fee changes are, or for instance, I'm gonna go down to the last, line item, the fourth one over, it says roadway cut. I think you're talking driveway cut, no? So that, anyway, I think if we'd go over,
Yeah, I'm just, is
I-
engineering?
Yeah, she's, I could speak a little bit to this, but I'd prefer it be Richard. So these are, right now what you have is you have, work done in your right of way where other counties charge for those inspections to be done in the right of way. If somebody needs to cut your road because they're gonna put a water line across the road, or if they're gonna put an electric line under the road and they can't drill and bore, they have to cut the road.
okay.
Right now, you're incurring all those inspector costs on the county. It's shifting that burden of those inspections and that maintenance to the entity doing the work. Outside of telecommunications, because telecommunications is protected under Florida statute. But everybody else, this would be charging them. And I know Sharice and Richard have had conversations with your two largest utility providers to discuss this. And I'll defer that to Sharice and Richard. We were talking about the fact, I was making the comment that you've had discussions with both the two largest utility providers in the county, being CCUA and Clay Electric. So,
And from what I understand, they do get charged by other counties.
yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
So I'll defer it to.
Yeah,
there's Richard.
There he is.
we talked, Richard, come on up, buddy. We did talk to those other utilities, and I think, one of the keys they said is if everybody's getting charged, it's understandable. And other counties do charge, obviously CCUA is not in another county, so they're just in our county, but we did have some of those conversations, so.
Richard Smith, County Engineer. May I help you?
Commissioner Ranger was directly asking about right-of-way cut, or
Well,
road
the-
cuts.
What prompted this question is I assume when we talk about it on the bottom line, the last line, the fourth one over, it says roadway cut. I was thinking it really meant driveway cut, so that's been clarified. So we're talking about a real cut in the
That's a
roadway.
physical installation of a cable or water service or gas line service that would go from one side of the right of way to serve a residence on the opposite side.
And this is for the inspections thereof. That's what
Yes.
we're talking about in this slide.
They turn in a plan that shows the main line that's going in and then the service locations. Or if it's already a main line there, a new home is built, there'll be a new service going over for CCUA or TECO.
Well, one other question I had is house moving. Are we talking house or are we talking mobile home? Or both?
I'll defer that to Steve Shope, but I would imagine this is specifically for house moving, where you gotta move wires and issues like that. A mobile home, I think, meets that from the DOT standard of clearances.
The roadway right-of-way portion of that, not for the physical lighting of the building.
Can you repeat what he said so Steve doesn't have to come up?
Well, I have questions.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Steve.
Okay, so in this particular permit would be affecting the work that's in the right-of-way itself, the physically moving the building from one location to another, as opposed to, the building permit that would be required to place the building on site and hook up the utilities and occupy the building.
That'd be another
Yes, sir.
whole
That's it. Yes,
process.
sir.
I'm not understanding, so a house in the right of way?
They're picking it up from this lot and driving it down the road and depositing on the other lot. That's what this $100 is looking at. So if you got, power lines, any of those kind of
Any
structures
street
that gotta be
signs.
moved and addressed,
Yep.
those items, I believe, is what this would be covering.
The
That
church,
happen very often?
very, very, very seldom.
Okay.
The one I can remember is in Stark, they moved that pretty church there, which has very unique architectural in that the doorway is on the corner of a square.
Right.
Across from the hospital.
Right.
That was moved from, I think over by the city park, moved it about 4 blocks to the east. And you had to, you had DOT involved with road closures and stuff like that. So this is just for us to have people there to make sure our signs are put back in place and that type of stuff.
But it-
And it'll involve a lot of people. It'll involve Clay Electric. It's not, it's a big deal.
But it does happen in Orange Park.
Yeah.
During my tenure, we moved 2 homes from the railroad area down to the Dairy Queen area. So it only moved 200 yards, but
Right.
we moved the whole physical structure.
Thank you. All right, good. Thank y'all.
So in bringing that budget on September 8th, that balanced budget, these were the considerations and guidance, direction, consensus we received from the board at the last workshop. So items 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the next 2 slides are those items that staff heard consensus on. So if there's any questions or discussion on these items, we have time to do that now.
I'm sure.
Go ahead.
I have several questions on category 2. The first bullet, retiree opt-out program. If the verb there, I think, is eliminate. Is that the verb we're talking about? Eliminate retiree opt-out program?
Thank you, Commissioner. The proposal is to eliminate retiree opt-out for those who are Medicare eligible and to phase it out ultimately with elimination over a 2-year period for those who are not Medicare eligible.
Have we done any research, I guess is the best word, as to if we eliminate the opt-out, they may take the insurance and what that was gonna cost us anyway?
We do not foresee an increase in participation in the plan due to the vast majority of those opting out already having another coverage, whether it's Medicare or a spousal's plan or TRICARE.
Okay. Second bullet. It says reduce COLA. Should that say replace COLA for $1,000 stipend?
I believe the original proposal was a 3% COLA, and this was from the board's recommendation at the last budget meeting to reduce it instead to $1,000. And I do believe that would be paid out over a 26-week pay period. So it'd still be a cost of living increase implemented after the fiscal year. It would just be $1,000 instead of the 3% across the board.
So it's a salary increase of $1,000 across the board?
Yes, sir.
Or is it a bonus?
It is not a bonus. It is a
stipend.
salary increase.
Okay. I think it's the fifth bullet. Pays that employee, is that a reduction in the opt-out program?
Yes, Commissioner, that would be phasing it out the same way for non-Medicare eligible retirees over a 2-year time period. The first year would be a 50% reduction, and year 2 would be a complete elimination.
Trying to read my notes.
Can you explain that more?
Absolutely, yes, Commissioner. So retirees receive employees receive an opt-out allowance added to 24 of their 26 pay periods if they provide proof of coverage and waive our health coverage. It ranges, depending on which tier you're opting out of, from $75 per month to $200 per month for employee plus family. So children and spouse and employee are all opting out. Year 1 would look like $37.50 for an employee only opting out, $75 for an employee plus spouse opting out instead of $150, and $100 for an entire employee plus family opting out instead of the $200 a month.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
And Aubrey, just to follow up on that question, my understanding is, if you can confirm, we're the only county that anyone knows of that does an opt-out.
A few counties do still offer it, Commissioner, for employees, 3 that we have found. All other counties have eliminated it completely for retirees.
Okay. and three offer it for employees
That is correct,
in
yes, Commissioner.
Florida, three
In
counties in
Florida.
Florida. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Were you done, Jamie?
Done, thank you.
Madam Chair. So on this slide, I think it's important for the public to understand some of these significant cuts that the commission is making. The one that's eliminated an additional 5 FTEs, that's 5 jobs that the county will be cutting, on top of 30 positions that we've eliminated. So I think it's important for people to understand that we're getting very sharp with the pencil. Commissioner Renger was talking about the COLA, so staff will not be getting a 3% raise. They'll be getting the $1,000, which once we talk about benefits, a lot of that unfortunately is going to be gobbled up with insurance. We've cut our communications department down to 2 people. So that's something that if you've been following along, that you've seen. For all of the students that were involved in UF IFAS extension and all the master gardeners who have came to our meetings and vouched for your program, we heard you. We were able to save the program as far as programming goes. All of the agents will remain, but we are eliminating 2 of the admin assistants in that program. It's tight times, and it's everyone's carrying the water equally. So those are it's important for people to know. If you show up to the meeting and you look at the slide for the first time, it's very hard to understand what it means. But these are the substantial cuts that we're making. And Commissioner Condon, to your point about the opt-out, I know for me, we are not at if I'm still upset about the veterans exemption being messed with. So I have a creative proposal for that to bring before all of you today. But with that being said, I would be in favor of eliminating the opt-out altogether. And that's just my personal belief. And that's kind of where we're at. We haven't went to the 3 and 4 yet, right? Okay. Go ahead.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Before we leave this item, when we talk about eliminate 5 FTEs, it's through attrition, is that correct?
Yep, that is correct.
So we didn't pink slip. We were able to reassign and reorganize through good management and not have to terminate any positions, as well as the IFAS individuals have been reassigned as well. Is that correct?
They've been offered a reassignment, was my
Well, I mean,
understanding.
that's all we can do is we can offer.
But here's my point, Commissioner. The attrition thing's running out. I mean, that's like, we're very, very close. I'm gonna save it for Tuesday when I discuss this, but there's no more attrition to be had. The next thing is, that's the only,
Pink slips.
Yep, 100%. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else have questions on this?
This is just 1 and 2, so we'll go to the 3 and 4, right?
That's correct. So these are items 3 and 4 from that list, so if there's any discussion or questions on
Yeah.
these items?
Madam Chair.
Hold on 1 second. So you had said you wanted to eliminate, we are eliminating after year 2. So are you saying to do it right now? What was your,
Which
the
year two?
opt-out?
Oh, is that the current plan?
Yeah, to eliminate,
Next year?
after year 2, correct?
50% the first year, and then.
And then a full elimination the second year?
That's correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I'd be okay with that.
Okay.
I thought it was just keeping it. Okay.
All right, sorry about
Thanks, Madam Chair.
that. And you had a question right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Troy, I have a question on the reducing the veterans waste exemption to 50% from 100%. Is there a way that we could do a 50% hardship exemption, and then if a veteran qualifies for the hardship exemption, they could then get a 100% exemption as a veteran that also qualifies for hardship?
So let me restate the question and make sure that I understand it. You would be saying to only move to basically a hardship exemption with 2 tiers.
Correct.
A hardship exemption.
Like a phase 1 and a phase 2,
So
yeah.
if you
Stage
were,
1.
if you had a hardship, you would get a 50% deduction, and then if you were hardship and veteran, you would get 100%, but you'd have to meet both criteria. Is that what you're stating?
Yes, yes.
I don't see why you couldn't implement something like that. I would defer to the
I
county
really
attorney.
thought that's what we were doing.
Well, that's what it does, in essence.
Well, no,
Not as it's written.
Not, it's written right now, you're going to everybody being 50%. My understanding from,
But hardship is 100%.
Yeah, hardship is.
So if you qualify for hardship, you get 100%.
but I think he's
Right.
looking at a different model.
Yeah, so are you saying to revise hardship as well to be 50%?
Yeah.
If you're a veteran and you have hardship, you're already gonna get 100%.
Yes,
Yeah,
But I think what,
Gotcha.
anyone with a hardship gets 100%.
right.
but I think that's where you were looking at doing it a little differently of saying, potentially you could go to a hardship only being 50%, and then if you were a veteran and a hardship, going to 100%. I think it's a way to, if you're, I think you're looking at was for veterans.
Right,
Was what it was
right,
for.
yeah.
I mean, I think there's different ways you as a board can look at this if you're trying to not reduce it. If you're trying to reduce the $750,000 and look at a different way to do it. I mean, I think it's up to the board of what the plan looks like.
I don't know, I'm confused, because I mean, if you're hardship, you get 100%. If you're a veteran, if you're not, I mean,
Yeah, it makes sense to me now.
we
I'm
could say
just
including
vehement-
veterans, but it's already
Yeah,
including veterans.
yeah. I don't like removing it at all. That's just, and I know I'm up here by myself, but that's.
No,
what-
you aren't.
That's, well, I'm just,
But it was only you and I the
Yeah,
last time, and so,
yeah.
but
I'm just trying to get creative on it, but, I'll go to the next one. So JTA funding, if you listen to the public, they will tell you exactly what you need to hear. I've not had one person mention JTA buses, not one person. So the $500 or $500,000 of reducing it, I'm in favor of eliminating the program. There's not, I mean, you could take that 500,000 and give IFAS the thing for there's way more kids in 4-H than there are that ride the bus. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. So I'm in favor of fully eliminating that 500,000.
I have an employee that rides the bus.
Okay.
So, and she doesn't drive, she never has driven, so,
And
there's
I-
only one
listen,
person, but,
I'm sympathetic to that, but
and
that's
I-
a lot of money for one person.
Well, and there's more, I'm on that board, so, there is more people, it's definitely at small numbers, but to eliminate totally, I think that's a little harsh, but.
So, Madam Chair, can I ask Troy a question regarding that? So, can you discuss the funding, because I believe, but I may not be right, that some of what Commissioner Burke and Scrumolo are talking about are two different programs. So there's transportation disadvantage, which your employee may be not under the TD.
Right.
Because they're both, right? So there's the transportation disadvantaged, and then there's the regular JTA Clay Transit services. And the ridership is very low on the regular Clay Transit. I'm not arguing either way yet. I just want clarification on which is which and what we're talking about, which funding.
I think you're talking about both, but I will break it down because I think there are nuances to your point. So you have TD service. TD service is funded by the federal government through the state to us through the Transportation Disadvantage Board. They have an allocation, $500,000-ish. Is that what the number? Yeah, under 500,000 that they get from the state. You currently say, so in the TD board, you have a ranking that says you people are level 5, level 4, level 3, level 2, level 1. And we supplement funding to allow that scale to provide for more people. So we supplement the funding to the tune of about $30,000 a month to allow them to do more people than just level 5. If you say I'm cutting the TD service, then what they're gonna do is go back and through the Transportation Disadvantage Board, they're gonna go back through and go, all right, our funding will only allow us to serve people at level 5. We don't have any supplemental funding to go to level 4, level 3, level 2, and it's, basically it's need to get to the doctor, then it's nutrition, shopping, it goes down that list. And we can get you what that scale is. So I think that's the first half of your question is, it doesn't go away totally. JTA's just signed a new 5-year contract to provide TD service. So the transportation disadvantage piece will still run. It will just be at a lower level of service than what you currently have today.
We don't supplement it.
If you don't supplement.
Okay.
Then you have the red line, the blue line, the green line, the magenta line, which all of those are some level of state grant funding that JTA gets. And again, it's a model where they use the money until it runs out. You, as the board, have said, hey, if it runs out, we will supplement this money to continue the program in its entirety. Then you have just the normal ridership that you have, which is part of that funding that we're providing, that we're paying for. I will say, I think it's the board's choice. I know Karen and I have been on, Sharice has been on phone calls with some alternative services that may be able to come in and replace what you're doing now. Not the TD part, because the TD part, again, is what they're contracted for through the state and federal government. If you chose to continue having a bus service at all outside of TD.
And how is that paid for, the supplement,
Well,
the
you would be paying for it.
The other is, but it's just it's just cheaper, or what, I mean?
It's just it's an alternative service. There's a lot of people now who are coming with microtransit. There's 5 or 6 different vendors out there that do microtransit, and
Is it significantly cheaper?
I would say it's significantly cheaper.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's really, again, that's going to be up to the board of how you set that. If you decide to go that route with microtransit, how do you set up that system? Do you charge $1 per ride? Do you charge $5 per ride? Do you qualify people? I mean, there's all kinds of parameters that this board could set as a objective. I'll look at Commissioner Compare. She has no bus service in her district in Oakleaf at all. So from microtransit, that may be a way to get transportation there, because JTA has pretty much told us they're not going to Oakleaf anytime in the near future. Correct me if I'm wrong, ma'am. I mean, we've said in those meetings, and I think that's pretty much what they've told us.
But the TD would serve seniors in her area?
If they qualify on that very specific criteria.
Got it.
So,
And we have no way really to know how, I know that there are a lot of seniors who are using the TD service. I would imagine they're using it a lot to go to the doctors and then to go to the senior centers for nutrition. So I don't know how many from District 2 are coming. I know that there are some at Middleburg Senior Center who do come, but I don't know how many.
Is that a pay-as-you-need-it thing, this microtransit, or do we have to still do a monthly thing like this?
it would depend on how you would set up the contract. I mean, that would be up to the board. And again, that's, not knowing the direction of the board, Karen and Sharice and I have had some very preliminary, I don't want to put words in y'all's mouth, but very preliminary conversations with a couple of transit providers. I think we're confident that if you chose to go that route, that for the $500,000 or $600,000 that we have in the budget, I think we feel comfortable that you'd be able to provide a level of service. Now, whether that's a level of service the board desires or not, or if this is a need that the board desires, that's, up to you.
I'm good with that. I mean, I don't like paying $30,000 a month and we don't even know if we're using enough to, like you're saying. So if you think there's an alternative, I'd like to look at that.
Madam Chair, I have 2 questions. Are there any statutory requirements to provide transportation?
To provide transportation, there's a statutory
Account.
requirement. There's a statutory.
I mean, if we eliminate it, are we in violation of any statute?
No, because TD services, which are statutorily
Second
obligated.
question I have is, JTA manages it now, and it's very costly. If we go to a microtransit, how much staff time do we estimate? Getting back to we don't have a lot, we're not real fat around here, so we add responsibility and oversight. Do we have oversight responsibility, collection responsibility of the minimal investigation we've done with microtransit?
You would have more oversight because you're managing the contract at that point.
But I think you're asking operationally.
Operationally, do we have the capacity to do this?
I don't want to speak
Or we're going to
for
have to
Karen.
hire an FTE that we don't have?
Yeah.
I don't think you would have to. I think, the complaints that we get now when JTA or doesn't, when we get complaints about the service now, Jason and Karen's shop handles those complaints. I would assume this would work the same way if we went to the microtransit. That would be your liaison between us and the vendor. The vendor's still going to be doing the scheduling, the financial collection. But you are moving the contractual responsibility off of JTA onto the county. I mean,
That's my point.
You are taking on that increased load because you now own the contract.
So if, this says reduce, so if we eliminate, like he's saying, Commissioner Scrum was saying, then what is it? Compared to reducing?
Eliminate it completely. This, additional 600.
Additional what?
Yeah, we'd have to keep a little, it's 600,000, I think, is what we would
Completely.
completely, but we would have to keep a little bit in because you're required to give a 90-day notice. So if you decided to eliminate the service, my recommendation would be to get you through Christmas and eliminate it in the new year.
Well,
So-
this says reduce 500,000, so is that,
Saying
it's only 100,000?
That's from 1.3 million to 500,000.
Oh, so you're saying additional 600?
Mhm.
Gotcha, okay.
I'm not completely following, but I just want to make sure, I think TD is important.
Mhm.
And I don't
Yeah.
know,
Well, we definitely are, we have to have that.
shopping may not be as critical, except this is some of these senior citizens' only way to get to the grocery store. So, and I do have two of the senior centers in my district, they are heavily used.
So there's certain things they wouldn't be able to do if we do this?
If you went down to only the TD service that's provided by the federal government, then the TD board, as soon as you give the 90-day, this is my understanding, and we had a call about this yesterday. The next TD board meeting, you have to approve JTA's, the transportation board has to approve JTA's contract. You have not given JTA your 90-day notice. They will call a special meeting of that transportation board, and at that point, you guys will adjust the service level within the confines of what the federal government gives or the state gives to TD. Because at that point, you'll be saying that you're not supplementing TD service. And so your $30,000 a month is not going to be there. So that means they can't say, we're going to go to 5s, 4s, and 3s. We're only going to be able to service people that are the most critical, level 5. And I don't know what that is. We'd have to look at how many people that is,
We
how many
need to
people are
know that.
affected. That's what would have to look at.
I would like to know those numbers before.
Yeah, and I would even agree with that. You know, I'd like to know the numbers of, I just think there is a way to not allocate $1.3 million to buses. There's a way to do it. And what is that? So if you guys can get us the numbers of what servicing the TD is, then we can look at it that way.
Well, and we probably should know more about this alternative also.
Sure,
before,
sure,
you know.
100%.
So I guess the direction that we need from the board is, are you comfortable us leaving a reduced amount in for JTA while we redo that research and come back? Because right now your budget's based on us cutting that 500,000, 600,000 out of JTA's budget.
Yes, because currently as it states, the TD stuff stays the same, right?
Well, as it currently stays, we would have to come back and figure out what that contract looks like. 'Cause
Yeah.
your contract's gonna be up to JTA.
Right,
And we'd have to come back and look at what that's gonna look like and what you feel like you can fund or not fund.
right. I'm good
So
with
if
that.
that's what your desire is, then we will work
Yes.
to that as a result and bring back options in the upcoming board meetings.
Are y'all good with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And possibly increase service, at least in District 2. Right? I mean, that would be the ideal scenario, is that we would reduce costs and increase service.
Yes, and
Which is
we've been
wild.
working on that.
Yeah,
As needed, I don't know. I mean,
and that's where some of this microtransit is very interesting, because there's a lot of counties that have looked at different models of, if you're inside of a circle, then the cost is X, but if you're going from Oak Leaf to Green Cove, then there may be a higher charge because it's a longer trip, but it's still cheaper than Uber, Lyft, or whatever.
Okay, great. Let's, we're gonna come back to that then, later. At a later date. All right?
I just got another question on this. Do we have an update on where we landed with the PSAPs? What the plan is with that?
Commissioner and Madam Chair, so both the municipalities are out in the audience, both managers are here. We've had 2 meetings, also included the sheriff's office with us on that to discuss it. What we'd like to propose with regards to PSAPs, what we've found is Dean's done a great job on trying to quantify the number, but when you try to quantify an individual and then you try to say 25% of that individual, like the 911 coordinator, or you look at things like software and training, how much training, and then equipment, how much is that demand on equipment? What we proposed and what we kind of agreed upon, though they were going to bring it back to their councils, but I'll just say, you know, what we were talking and kind of agreed upon between the managers was that whatever that cost would be for their portion of it, that we would go in an MOU with them and provide that as an invoice to them for them to pay. So they should desire to keep their PSAP is where we got to.
So what I'm hearing you saying is if those councils choose to fund it, they will pay for it.
That is correct.
Yeah.
If they move forward, I know one of them, Mike and I have talked extensively on it. Their council wants it. And I think with Gary too, he said there was a desire, and I think he had ways that he was going to be able to fund it that way. But the overarching umbrella on it is to get to a single site. So we'd also propose, not only will we have these MOUs that we'd establish and help us to save those monies that are there, most importantly is the timeliness of that response of first responders and what has been studied out there for that 911 response. Well, we would like to form a committee on this with all the major stakeholders on it for the board's approval, is where we got to, and then give us 6 to 9 months to come up with some sort of consolidation plan moving forward. I've talked to the sheriff's office about this, fire department for us also, and the municipalities that would be involved.
Commissioner Ranger, go ahead.
Yeah, the backstory on this effort is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but all cell phone 911 calls go to the sheriff's office.
Yep.
And like 98% of 911 calls come in via cell phone. So, you know, we're really duplicating effort here throughout the county that you talk about Doge, this is a place we ought to be Doging. And so that this is and I think the county's had a plan, 5-year plan to consolidate all PSAPs into one. We need to do it in 2.
And if I may, the state legislature will be taking this up again from the information that we're getting. So it may come out as a statute and a law that says you have to consolidate. So we all agreed that we would like to lead turn that and come out with some sort of phased process to get us there. We talked about location, right? Like, and because you need to man these phones, right? And so there would be that discussion there where the location would be, and then what individuals would be sitting in the 911 area for that dispatch area. So when you talk about a plan, yes, sir, the plan may say you have to do this next year. You're given 2 years to make it happen. So it's going to happen sooner than later and very, very quickly. When it comes to cell phone calls, this is extremely important. So many years ago, the county agreed that those cell phone calls would be answered by the sheriff's office. Because what happens is a 911 dispatch can be completely overwhelmed with a massive emergency that would be on, say, for instance, 17 or Blanding. And so along 17, where the 2 municipalities are located, they could be easily overwhelmed by those cell phone calls. We discussed about geofencing, but even if you geofence the calls, there's a risk of that dispatch getting overwhelmed. And so many years ago, that's what they came up with, and that's how they handled it. There are many, many rules, regulations, in answering the call and transferring the call and things like that. Basically, the studies that have been done in the state of Florida fully support getting to a single PSAP. And so,
And Madam Chair, Florida Association of Counties is taking up this issue at the Policy and Innovation Conference in September in Jacksonville. And our very own sheriff is an expert that they have looked to. My understanding is she's going to sit on a panel to answer questions for other counties. And so I think we're in great hands, as we always are with our sheriff. But once again, Clay is a leader out there to be a model for what other counties would take a look at. And that gives me peace of mind to say we're making the right decisions in this. And so, Sheriff, I just want to thank you for being willing to share at a conference like that, but also for your leadership here.
I want to point out this particular item is only the answering, not the not the dispatch. I'm correct?
For the cost savings?
This
Sheriff's
is,
nodding yes.
We were talking about call taking only.
pardon me?
We are talking about call taking only at this point in time.
Right.
Now, the bill that may go through is broader than just 911, but what we're talking about today from a budget perspective is the 911 functions only.
Right,
Yes, sir.
right.
All right.
Any other questions on items 3 and 4?
Madam Chair, if I may,
Yes.
I just wanna, I appreciate the fire department looking at eliminating one of their software that could be duplicated or we could do internally. And I would ask other departments to take a look at those kinds of things. We don't wanna take away efficiencies, but if there's things that we can do on our own, if there's duplications of we have a lot of software, a lot of licenses, and I was looking at one of these slides, or maybe it's from our past budget workshop, and there's a software that does one thing, and then a software that, and it is within the fire department. It's not something that I'm interested in looking at, but there's one that manages, and then there's one that does it. It's like it's managing their narcotics in that particular case. That's just why I'm not interested in doing anything. But there's one that like manages all of it, and then there's one that like locks it up, and they have to. So, like, do we really need two? Is there one that can do? But at any rate, I'm not interested in that particular one. I just want people to look at, do they really need the software and all the licenses they have? I in particular, my computer died. IT had to work on it, and I found out that I had a license for something that I don't use, and so I gave it back to IT and to use for a different employee if it is needed. So.
Before we leave this, I have reduced parks programs. Which programs? What programs?
This was on operationally.
Just across the board?
Yes.
Just a $20,000 reduction. There's Justin telling, he has all the knowledge right there, so.
He is the expert.
Good morning, Commissioner. Thank you for allowing me to get my steps in. Justin Pierce, Director of Parks and Rec. What you see there, that $20,000 is operational Parks and Rec equipment. An example of that would be a movie screen for park events, as well as goals netting for sporting events. So that's what that is. So we've made some adjustments to make do with what we have to complete the programs we have throughout the fiscal year. So,
thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, Justin.
So moving on, for our balanced budget, some key considerations that we have. If you'll, yep. The key components are for bringing that balanced budget on September 8th and for September 22nd, public hearings are the new and increased fees, the stormwater assessment, fire rescue fund, the constitutional officer fund. Our general fund reserves will stay at our 16.7 best practice. And then, of course, expenditure reductions, which we've been talking about today and before at other workshops. Important budget considerations still to come out are the state revenue estimates. Those did start rolling in yesterday, so the budget team is looking at those and updating our revenues as those come in, adjusting up or down or staying the same when we get those.
You
So-
can't really tell if it's any better than we expected or anything yet.
Currently, they're coming in pretty much where we did anticipate and not lower. So that is
Great.
that is positive.
That's a great positive way of looking
Yes,
at that,
it
MJ.
I have a question for Troy. And this is something that when I was told this a couple weeks or months ago, I guess, was kind of astounding to me. So ad valorem revenue collection, just for the public, explain, because I think for citizens in the community, the economy is extremely tough. Everyone's property taxes are too high, and it's like there's no end in sight. One of the things that's frustrating, though, explain the ad valorem revenue that we're actually collecting. just news to everyone, we do not collect 100% of property tax. Can you explain that?
Yeah, I mean, you always have people who don't pay their property taxes every year. I think the last number we looked at is a little bit better. We got a little bit more into it.
96.4.
Okay, but that 96, it was 94.
It was 94.
But that 96.4 to 100%, that gap is how much money?
So you're 5%, let's just say 5%, and 5% of our ad valorem this year is
171.
171. So that's about $8 million. Yeah, $8.5 million of revenue, that you're not, that's why, best practices for budgeting, or by state statute, you budget 95%, and you hope the 5%'s there that you can carry forward to the next year to keep that flow, so you're not gonna have that to carry forward. I think that's the biggest thing to take away from that comment is, that means you don't have cash carry forward, and you don't have as much cash carry forward going into the next year. You're down $8 million in cash carry forward, basically.
Right. And that explain how cash carry forward ties into reserves.
Well, that's what your reserves and your 5% really is, and whatever you don't spend is what your cash carry forward is, and that's the whole idea of, that's where you start your next year off of. And if your reserves stay at 16.7%, you should always be taking that reserve, carrying it forward, and going into your reserve, back to your reserves to keep you on that pan. So theoretically, you're starting an $8 million hole next year.
Right, and I think that's the thing for the public that they need to understand. When you hear cash carry forward, it sounds superfluous. It sounds like there's an extra pot of money. What that is maintaining the strong reserve year to year. And then, like one of the things they need to know too. So Moody Road, when Moody Road collapsed and caved in, what stormwater budget did we pay for that $950,000 repair out of?
You paid for that out of your general fund reserves.
I know, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
but that's my point.
Because
you know
we've
what I
never
mean?
had a stormwater fee assessment of money to go to that.
Right, right.
That is why.
And I guess that's my point is, and we'll talk about this Tuesday, but those key infrastructure, the maintenance, the replacement has been subsidized out of the general fund, which is not funded to 100%. It's 96.4 in revenues.
And I want to.
And one more thing, sorry. MJ, of that general fund, how much does public safety use?
100%.
Plus.
Plus,
Yes,
yeah.
plus. So all ad valorem collected is going to fund 100% public safety. And then the general fund, other revenues that are collected, there's a transfer made also to supplement those funds to make them whole.
So one last thing, Troy, so you have the general fund, which is spent on public safety, which I would think the five of us would agree it's our number one job. The other programs, parks and animal services and the other things we fund, what revenues fund those?
Other revenues that you collect from either state revenue sharing or your discretionary sales tax or grants or fees.
Correct.
So when we say general fund, just for clarity, what we're talking about is 100% of the ad valorem coming into the general fund is spent on public safety. You're spending your other revenue streams that you get on all your other general government functions and those transfers to support public safety, transportation trust, all those are coming out of your general fund.
Not to put you on the spot, but do you have a ballpark amount of those revenues that are not gas tax, not sales tax, not CIP, but those other governmental revenues?
I'd have to get those for you. I don't know off the top of my head.
I'd venture to say though, and this is an important note, is it's not anywhere close to $175 million.
Oh, no, sir.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyone else? Okay.
Okay, so moving on, I am going to hand over to Aubrey to go over our health insurance rates and more about the option.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you. The overall increase from 2026 to 2027 healthcare rates is 13%. Yes, Commissioner?
We planned a budgeted number of what?
10%, and we were able to stay within that 10%,
In
Commissioner.
Houston, we have a problem. We budgeted 10%, it came in 13%. Back to the general revenue statements, they're holding even. This didn't, this wasn't in accordance with our plan, 13%. That's a big jump. That's 30% more than we
I would
expected.
say regionally with the private sector, that's pretty good. I mean, I know in my employer, it's like 25% increase, so it's pretty good.
Thank you, Commissioner. That is, we are not unhappy with this result. We were able to, it was, while unexpected, we were able to budget and stay within the 10% for county increase. The remaining increase would be passed on to team members in the form of their monthly premiums. The highest increase to a team member would be $758 a year estimate, and that is for the family PPO plan. That would still see that going into 2027 with a $1,000 COLA, they're still seeing an increase in their compensation. All right, moving on to the next screen.
Before, I have a question. You know, one thing that bothers me a little bit is, you know, our employees come here with an expectation. You know, how many hours I'm gonna work, what I'm gonna have to do, what my retirement policy. And then we get into this conundrum where we have a huge increase, although 13 isn't huge, it could be a lot worse. But anyway, my point, I guess, is just to make note of, a single person in retirement is gonna pay how much in health insurance?
A single retiree in 2027 is estimated to pay $1,109 for the PPO plan and $1,033 for the HDHP plan. However, per month, however, the county does provide a stipend of $250 to retirees only who were hired prior to 2020.
So I guess my point is, they're gonna pay $10,000, just round numbers, in health insurance costs out of their retirement pension. That's a big chunk for some of our employees.
Yes.
And it's of concern to me. You know, it's a conundrum. I don't know. But we just need to be aware of that.
Health insurance.
And that's without the copay. There's a copay required, not a copay, what's the proper term?
Co-insurance.
Deductible. A deductible before you even get to use the insurance. And a deductible for a single person is,
The deductible and the high deductible health plan for a single person is $2,500. The county does provide a contribution to retiree high deductible HSA accounts if they're under Medicare eligible age in accordance with federal requirements of half of that deductible. So we do contribute half of that deductible.
and on the other side, I'm gonna say that some counties don't, or some organizations don't pay anything
That is correct, Commissioner.
for healthcare. When I worked at FSCJ, they didn't pay anything for a retiree. The other thing is, and I'm gonna fix this before I leave, we pay Medicare payments on every employee that we have. And they aren't required to transition to Medicare when they retire. In fact, we continue to pay their health insurance after paying all these Medicare payments. So it's like our constituents are double paying for our retirees.
Well, let's fix it, Commissioner.
Well, I'm trying. We're working with,
Bailey Group.
Bailey Group, my buddy, your buddy,
Yeah.
Travis. We're trying to, but there's federal rules and laws and all that kind of
Just,
stuff.
just to be clear, that's nothing that we control, that's at a federal level.
Yeah.
But
And you don't
Madam
wanna mess
Chair,
with
I
Medicare.
did have a conversation with the Medicare expert at the Bailey Group. And, if they, based on the numbers that you just gave us, Commissioner Reniger, for retiree insurance, they could save money by getting Medicare Part B if they're 65 and the Medicare supplement offered through our plan. They would save money.
But we don't require it.
We don't, and I don't know that you can require it, but I think the education piece of those people to say they could actually, it wouldn't be better insurance, but they probably wouldn't change their insurance and not have those copays.
Correct.
Or not have the deductible, I should say. They
So
could
this is something
probably
we
have the
need to work on.
copay.
Whether it be education or statute, you know, working for the federal government, as I did for 26 years, they make you transition to Medicare. There's no question about it. Requirement. 65, you're on Medicare. They
So
don't
if
pay
they
any.
can, we should,
Pardon me?
if they can make you, I don't know. but-
Yeah. So anyway, that's something we need to work on.
Just make sure we're okay, they're okay with it, please.
Yeah.
Thank you. We do plan on having 2 retiree open enrollment sessions with the Medicare specialist, Tommy Delaney, present to ensure education and communication for those will be put out after approval from the benefits for next year. Next grade. This is recapping the opt-out allowance changes going into 2027. The employee impacts retiree Medicare eligible and retiree not Medicare eligible are broken down in those 3 tiers there. Do you have any questions regarding this?
I don't think so.
Thank you. This is what had been approved tentatively at the last budget meeting. So this is a comprehensive look of what that details. Thank you.
Thank you, Aubrey.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right, I think I'm up now. Wanted to make sure, as we're going through the budget, that we had a chance to talk about how different CIP things will be affected, because those are part of your adopted budget in September. The first slide talks about the impact fee districts. Just to be very clear, these district numbers have nothing to do with commissioner districts.
Right.
And they look numbered weird. In the future, we'll make sure we put the names of the districts on there and not the numbers, but these are your impact fee projects that are there in the different impact fee districts. I don't know if you have any questions on these.
So Troy, just to clarify what this is, so the county puts these projects into the impact fee structure, and any development that is made within those districts, their impact fees go towards those projects. Is that correct?
I'm gonna reverse it a little bit.
Okay.
So any new development has to pay an impact fee. Any new residential development has to pay an impact fee to support your parks. That goes into those district funding. You set the projects.
Correct.
So that's what, these are the projects that staff is recommending. If you as the board say, no, I don't think that's the right project, this is your opportunity to say, I wanna move this around, change this, give us direction before we adopt the budget.
Right.
So, yeah.
But for the purview though,
Yeah.
that's not, these numbers are not coming from the general fund. It is the projects that would be funded through impact fees.
Yes, impact fees and CIP dollars, because you do have to have a matching dollar there.
Correct. Okay.
Quick, Madam Chair. And these impact fees are not transferable from district to district.
No, they have to be spent in their assigned park. The parks area is the one area where you have impact fee districts created outside of mobility fees, that the money has to be spent, because parks are a local asset, not like fire department where it's a system. So this is, you construct in the district where the money is generated.
And I can't transfer this money to streets and potholes.
It has to be used for capacity improvements of the parks.
Cannot be used for maintenance.
Correct.
Right.
Maintenance has to come out of your normal general fund operational expenses.
So my question would be is if, like, I'd rather be able to talk about these, like, I get the money and I get that we need to spend it and that that time is ticking.
Mhm.
I'm not objecting to that. I just don't know that my silence is consensus today that this is what I want to do with those that involve my district.
And it's at the discretion of the board. I mean, in each district, we can say, hey, we just know there's gonna be, we don't have to put any projects in the budget. We could say the money's gonna be sitting there. And then we can have a different workshop after October to really deep dive into parks if that's the desire of the board. And I think that's what we're looking for is, how does the board wanna approach impact fees for parks? To your point, these may not be the right projects in your district. And I know you guys have just, you as a board are just seeing this pretty
And
much
these
for the
were
first time.
chosen by
Staff. And I'll
Justin.
I would defer to Justin and Karen on how they chose these. Well, right,
Study and our park plan.
and
Everything.
when I say staff,
Well,
I'm looking at the overarching.
So Justin, if you can, when you're addressing how the projects were chosen, a lot of these say master plan, and I thought we had an overall master plan, and you know I don't love planning.
Yes, ma'am.
So
I'll clarify that.
I like doing for that.
But everybody online, did you, everybody hear the word plan? We actually plan in our county. I keep on hearing, we don't plan anything. Just to let y'all know, it says plan all over this piece of paper here.
Yes, ma'am. Back in 2024, the Parks and Rec Department completed a comprehensive master plan of the future growth of the county to keep up with the neighborhoods that are coming in and making sure that we're meeting those levels of service. Sorry, I have to lift it up. So yes, it is a terminology thing. The Park System Master Plan was a level of service, community needs, park equity standards, and recommended park improvements, quote unquote, capital improvements to keep up with that growth and capacity. So when you're looking at the list of projects and you see the word master plan, that's a terminology thing, and we can change that. Troy and I had that conversation offline. So you're talking about a site plan for that specific park. So whether it be changing the flow of the park and adding sidewalks and adding amenities to it, that design, that conceptual plan is what's called the master plan on paper, but we can change that terminology to make sure there's no confusion, ma'am. So
That would make me very happy.
I
Thank
definitely
you,
understand where
Justin.
you're coming from on that. But going back to the question about how we develop these park improvements, that Park System Master Plan looked at the future growth over a 10-year span of where we needed to grow parks, add parks, purchase land, and develop undeveloped parcels that we currently have in our inventory. And this list is a prioritization that you see based off of that fit into impact fee districts and impact fee qualifying projects as well. That recommendation list is out of each commissioner district, you're looking at 6 to 10 projects per district, but what qualifies out of impact fee is what you see here and the prioritization with the short, mid, and long-term timelines in that. So I can talk any specific project if you would like, but there was a meeting maybe 3 months ago that included capital projects, included facilities, parks and rec, OMB, as well as legal to look at the language of impact fees and what qualifies out of that recommended park improvement list. And these are the ones that qualify within those districts for that funding pot.
Madam Chair, I'm fine with the list now that I know that it's a site plan.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, anybody?
Well, I'm in favor of pausing this simply because there's a big decision that's going to take place in November. And if we go forward now without knowing what that decision is, maybe I misunderstood the conversation here, but.
Well, this is impact fees that have to be spent on parks,
Yeah.
no matter what happens in November, correct?
Yes, ma'am, and, I think, part of the time sensitivity on these park projects and impact fees, and I think I've had this conversation with a couple of the commissioners, is impact fees do have a timeline on them.
Right.
You have to spend impact fees within, is it 8 years, Courtney?
We have time.
So, well, you don't have time really, because you're at 4 years already. So if you're talking spending $4 or $5 million, we all know it takes time to do design, takes time to bid and do construction. My concern is making sure that we don't get to a point where we've missed the timeline.
If we pause till January,
If you pause January, you're fine, but there is a time sensitivity to getting park projects done. Any impact fee project done across the
Like we're
board.
pausing everything here? you
So
mean?
what happens to the impact fees if we don't use them?
You
They return to the
Oh,
develop.
people that paid them. And so what's the harm in moving forward? Like, I don't understand how, so I assume you're talking about if Amendment 3 passes.
correct.
And then we have to take another look at our parks because it's a non-public safety, it's a quality of life
Right.
kind of thing.
Right.
And if Amendment 3 passes, you can't use ad valorem on parks and quality of life. But, so I follow you there, but
Well,
I don't know what the harm would be in starting some of these projects because that money needs to be spent regardless.
However, when you build a park, you gotta maintain the park, and that's where your ad valorem comes in. If you don't have the money to maintain it, is there a risk by pausing for 3 months, from September 1st to January 1st?
It's all, time is not your friend here, so that's,
And it's the government.
I'm just, I don't wanna say there's a harm, but I don't wanna say there's a harm in pausing, because I think, due diligence is always important, but you can't pause too long, I guess is my comment.
I guess I'm not understanding because we're not suggesting building anything
But we're
really. I mean,
planning.
Yeah,
and
the planning.
Designing.
Yeah, planning and designing and that is money that can't go, that money cannot go to operation of a park. So you would have like, you would have, so for instance, development of Antler Run Park. We own the property for Antlers Run. We have had it for decades. It's in Clay Hill. It's a wooded site right now. And it was one of the identified parks, one of the identified areas in our Parks Master Plan that is severely lacking in space for the community.
I understand all that.
Coming up with a plan and a design, what is the harm in the next 3 months?
You gotta pay for the plan, the design, and if you can't support it after November 3rd or whatever, after Proposition 3.
Then we don't move forward with the construction, but we still have it planned so that
I mean,
it's
a
impact fee
risk.
money.
It's a risk. we
But it's
take.
just like our roads. We have plans, set up, we might not be able to do the roads, but we have it ready and, what is it called, shovel ready, there's a
Yeah.
word,
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
I just don't understand the risk.
Do we have a consensus here?
I'm okay, it's just, I just think there's a risk of developing a plan and not being able to execute the plan.
I think we need to go ahead.
Cost to develop the plan.
Just to chime in, out of this list, the only two projects that would not require a design would be the Plantation and Neptune playgrounds. Everything else is developing something that doesn't currently exist and will require conceptual design, site plan, and then designs and engineering.
Are those, Justin, are those costs, that's like the out-the-door cost?
That's the pot of money that was recommended. But when you're looking at a playground, Thunderbolt, for example, in your district, sir, that playground 3 years ago cost us around $242,000 for something of that size. So that pot of money is
To build or to design?
to build, and
Yeah,
that
yeah.
included demolition
And design,
well, for the playgrounds, designs are
minimal.
very minimal. It's part of the package of purchasing the playground equipment. So they will give you a rendering and then design it and construct. That's all part of the project. But anything else, Saratoga Springs, for instance, that is 19 acres that is just land. So what that park is going to be, what elements it include, will all have to be a part of that design process.
So through the chair, if I may, so if there's consensus to keep moving forward, the board still has to vote on the final budget in September. So my recommendation would be, if it pleases the board, to have MJ go ahead and put these in the budget, in the CIP. If you decide between now and the end of September that you want to do something different, it's your budget, you can still change it. So, I
Yes.
mean, if that works as a consensus to move forward, and really it's direction for MJ.
Is that agreeable?
I'll say I'm okay with that. It's just, these are the conversations that this turmoil in Tallahassee have caused. And this is just a tip of the iceberg of the conversations that,
Yep.
the uncertainty of the future is causing problems.
Madam Chair,
Okay.
if I may, one other on this comment about the November vote. Either way, whichever way the vote should go on that day, we are planning and will brief the board on a way ahead and address those concerns of operational, right? Operational across the board, parks, libraries, facilities. We will have to do that. And you have our commitment as a staff, and that's what we've been talking about. We don't have the final plan. There's so many things ahead, but we will. November, December, we're going to have some meetings and have some discussions and ask the board's guidance on this and give you options on moving forward with operations. That's the bottom line.
Very good, thank you. Okay,
Other
thank you,
questions?
Justin.
Thank you.
There's the remainder of the parks list for the impact fees. And you'll, of note in impact fee District 7, the boat ramps, you'll see those repeated on the boat improvement fund, because the idea is to pay for part of that out of boat improvement fund and part out of the impact fee district. Moving on, road improvement CIP, this is, you all should have received an updated slide this morning with a few tweaks to it.
This is also displayed on the long spreadsheet you received.
just in a different format.
in a different format.
But basically, this is the current plan, for road improvements next year, using the money that's in CIP for those.
I have two comments. One, check by district. I think there's some roads in there that aren't in my district, but, and these are commissioner district,
Correct.
not some other. The second thing, it's a little note near the bottom. It's pavement assessment, $350,000. Is this the LiDAR, radar, van that travels that we did about 5 years ago? It's an update.
Yes, sir.
It's gonna cost $350,000 to update.
That's an estimate. The previous one was, I think, 249,000, so we had a little adjustment in there. It'll be what it will be. Karen, will that be a RFP, where it's price-driven, or RFQ? Okay, good. So it's an RFP, meaning we will get qualified contractors, review their qualifications, and then the price will be the determinant.
Madam Chair, I got a question for Richard. Richard, so do we have, I know personally in District 1, and I appreciate the patience of a lot of constituents that I talk to regarding residential roadways that the county's responsible for. Do we have the ability, County Road 220, that project is from the Whitey's Bridge all the way to Nightbox. Do we have the ability to do that in phases and get some of these residential roadways done?
Yes, sir. That'll be at the commissioner's discretion.
Okay.
Yes.
My second question is, this is just a ballpark. How many residential roadways would you say is an average of the list we have for each district? Let me rephrase the question. I know my district, in District 1, the list of roads that need resurfacing that are in residential areas, I'm not talking about 220, I'm not talking about College Drive, I'm talking about where people live. Countywide, how long are those lists?
It's much more district-related. Keystone, we may do 10 roads that are 4 miles long. In your district, we may do 60 roads that total 4 miles. So it's definitely different. Oakleaf is kind of a variety. You've got the newer roads in the Oakleaf, it's named area, that are nearing but not yet ready for resurfacing. Some of them have deteriorated faster than others. Then you've got District 2 has roads in Bear Run up through Camp Francis Johnson that are 50-year-old roads that have not been touched, that we are touching now. Orange Park, District 3 is another example of where a lot of high-density, smaller, shorter roads, but they are nearing their life expectancy. District 5 is a little of both. You've got some in Lake Asbury area that we need to work on that goes all the way down to 209 South. And down there, we may have 1 or 2 big District 4 type roads. So it's very particular. In your district, it would be more of the dense roads.
Yeah, and I think that's what I'm getting at is personally, I think the best use of taxpayer money right now with CIP is those types of projects. Not, like right now is not the time to add capacity for certain things, other buckets. So that's kind of what I was getting to. But
And 220 this will take it, we've got milestones. Right now, it ends at Whitey's, just because that's where the joint is going to the bridge. From that point, we could take it to College Drive, we could take it to the CSX rail. But that road is not in a state where it's preventing the garbage truck from picking up your garbage in the cul-de-sac.
Right.
It's okay, but it is oxidized and needs replacement.
Right.
Chair, if I may. Richard, you can correct me if I recall this incorrectly, but for education purposes, of course, you were not on the commission. When Commissioners Burke and Reniger and I came on, we were spending like $4 million a year on roads overall.
Zero for several years.
Yeah, there were some years that nothing was spent. So this one is at 11 million. But if I remember right, when we did the pavement assessment 5 years ago or so, I seem to recall a number of 13 million would be the target for us to maintain where we were when that assessment was done.
So you're saying the maintenance number was 13 million?
Yeah,
That
that
we're
was the
shooting for.
recommendation that
Retain
we
the
should be,
score.
yeah, to
That
change,
was even.
to keep the score even,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it was like, and at the time, I remember us thinking we could never get there, but I commend the commission that we've worked really hard to try to put any extra money we had toward road improvements for to citizens. And some of these, like, so, right here on the District 4 list that looks long because there are a lot of little roads, that's in Fox Meadow, that directly came from those scores. And not because they complained. I just want it to be known that that was score-driven. The decisions are score-driven, not because a particular person or commissioner asked for it.
And I think you're gonna see some, with that assessment, it's gonna allow us to kind of recalibrate. And I don't know, I'm not advocating dropping this down to 5 million a year or anything. I'm just saying it'll show you that we're going in the positive direction. I also think that a lot of that assessment, just personally, was based on probably more of a nationwide assessment. We have some pretty low impact roads that when we resurface them, we may not touch them again for 40 years. The national average is 15 to 20. We've got good weather, you know, other than the heat, and we don't have the freeze thaw of 2 feet of snow. With that, I think it does add longevity to our maintenance that we provide. So.
I just want to amplify, there were several years that there was zero spent on road resurfacing, and now you look, and I want to compliment the whole staff, now we're paving roads, we're doing it scientifically with data, and justifiable data, and we're paving roads that were never paved, dirt roads. When we got here, we weren't paving any dirt roads at all. Weren't paving any roads, so I want to compliment it, the whole
And
staff.
Madam Chair, in the light of dirt roads, so it seems that, and Richard and his team are doing some research. It seems that a private company applied for an appropriation from the legislature and got it, and the governor signed it, and it's for Clay County. And we don't know who this entity is. But it seems to be a new product that's coming. There's a few new products for dirt road improvements that are coming to market. I had found one that Richard and his team are gonna meet with the person to look at, but this seems to be another company that has come up with something to do with dirt roads that's an improvement, and they got this grant, and it's $500,000, and that's what we know today.
take
so,
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's strange, like it was strange, like when Jim Knight called Richard, he said, who is this? We don't know, so we're gonna find out, and that could help improve some other dirt roads that we couldn't afford to do this year, so I think that's kind of neat.
And when I came on board, there's a bit of an ominous number. You'll remember this, Commissioner Cotton, I think. It's $1 million a mile to pave a road. That was like, wow, you know, we got,
Used to be.
that's what the number was in 2020, September 5th, when I got hired. And that, when you look at 259 miles of dirt road, it's a lot of millions. This $500,000 grant that this company received, they've done work in Mississippi. They're gonna do 4 miles with $500,000. Then you're getting into something that becomes manageable. We've improved 90 dirt roads between paving and taking them off of the grading list in 4 years. So we're going in the right direction.
Awesome.
Madam Chair, if I may, a couple, just a comments. Commissioner Condon, I received a call from the gentleman about the grant.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was like, I'll be honest with you, I didn't even think it was gonna happen. I mean, with how tight budgets are and things like that, and I'm like, yes, sir, that sounds great to me. Richard and I had talked about it. I mean, anything to help us out in dirt roads, and here it came to fruition. So we're very, very fortunate to get that, and it's a demonstration, right, of what's gonna go on. So I wanted to make sure, you know, so it was like, you know, we did hear about it, but the odds of it happening, I thought were not, it wasn't gonna happen.
How
right?
crazy that it survived the veto
Yep.
pen.
Yes, ma'am.
It's good to have friends in high places.
Yeah.
Clearly they do.
Yeah.
Well,
And-
Whoever it is.
And we do too.
Oh, yeah, we do, yeah.
But
If
there
I-
was no, I heard of this first in mid-June.
Yeah,
thinking, okay, in 3 weeks, we'll go to another subject.
Yeah.
In 3 weeks, it was signed in July, passed the veto pen, and we have set up meetings, we've selected roadways, and we're ready to get started.
and if I may, Madam Chair, I want to go back to Commissioner Scarmolo's comment in when it comes to the roads. So what's extremely important, and I think what we owe you by Tuesday is a number, and in the backlog of roads that we have, Commissioner Scarmolo. That's what you're kind of getting at. So let's clarify this. It was a higher number, and we've been able to kind of slowly increase that number in order to fix these roads. We were in a deficit, and we needed to catch up. And a PCI score of 45 or below, correct me if I'm wrong, Richard, was where we had targeted throughout the county. So we've spent about $40 million the past 4 years for us to basically double up to catch up, right? However, there's an asterisk to this, and I'd like Richard to address this because, for instance, our latest road in the issue that we had with regards to stormwater was 220, okay? So those stormwater pipes were extremely deep. They needed to be repaired. We didn't have the money for it. We would had to have taken money from this budget in order to repair that stormwater system there. Correct, Richard? I want you to
Correct.
back me up on this. And so whenever you look at this, we have not had a dedicated revenue stream for stormwater, so it took money away from doing that list. So what I think Richard owes us in the homework assignment would be is how many roads remain, you can do it in mileage or numbers, or I think both would be important, that are below 45 or below 50. We'll notch it up just to 50. And that'll kind of give us an idea of that backlog. And I think that's what you're getting at.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be across the board on all the districts.
And that's the thing yeah, exactly right. That's what I'm saying is I look at just my district singularly, there's still a ton and I drive, when you're driving the district, you go in some neighborhoods and it's like the patch job has been done 68 times at this point, and it's costing, it's better to replace it,
Yes, sir. So I
On
just wanted to
the
clarify.
drainage project, Howie, I want to kind of elaborate on that a little bit. That project was identified, this is kind of the hidden part of stormwater. We don't really see a lot of stormwater till Irma comes through. Irma came through, we saw a lot. That particular area flooded significantly. FEMA identified it as an area that failed. Our consultant at the time put together a cost-benefit analysis, said, let's get a grant. FEMA issued a grant that we used for design purposes and designed a project to rebuild, to replace Nightbox at 220. Fast forward to 2025, when it was evaluated again, FEMA did not pass the benefit cost analysis for helping people. They gave us zero. Paid for the design, so we have design plans to do it. Gave us nothing. During the 220 bridge replacement, we go out there and find out these 60-inch pipes, which are pipes about that big, were full of mud. Not some mud, a lot of mud, a lot of mud. We fortunately have a vacuum truck that Public Works used. They sucked all the mud out, negotiated with DOT, Florida DOT paid to replace that. That was part of the FEMA replacement that didn't happen. That helped a lot. That was about a $500,000 lift we don't have to go for. That's the scary thing about stormwater. You don't see it on a day like today. It's the blue skies, gray skies that Tim Devon speaks of in emergency management. The gray skies when we find out where we're really hurting. So.
And I give credit to Steve Kateris on that.
Yes,
Went
Steve
to
was-
DOT, and
yes.
he said that they are running from him now whenever he tries to ask for more money.
Yeah, we probably won't get any more, but we are, it's just example again. That's another example of the team doing such a good job that DOT trusts us. There's no one from DOT that's sitting there spending days overseeing what's going on. We oversee the whole project. They just check in. So, but my point is on the stormwater, we've got those kind of hidden issues that we don't know about yet. The ones we know about total $30 to $45 million. It's the ones we don't know about, like that one, until the next big event happens. So,
Right. Very good. Thank you, Richard.
and we will be meeting individually to confirm these lists. So,
Next is a list of sidewalks. We talked about CDBG. This is the list of sidewalks that we're planning on putting in the budget to focus on.
Madam Chair,
Mm-hmm.
for Richard, Dillon Drive? It's
Yes,
not on,
it's-
it's not on this list.
It is, this is like a 5-year list. Dillon Drive is an immediate for the coming up year.
Immediate?
Immediate as soon as, yes, CDBG, the analysis goes through, yes.
Okay, I just
And
want to make sure
that's-
that's.
This list is a little misleading. We kind of got our instructions from Troy were, give us a list, so we did. That list needs to be narrowed down to what that foot needs to find a shoe to fit it, and the shoe's gonna be the CDBG grant size.
And just for information, Dillon Drive's S. Brian Jennings Elementary School. They allow the students to exit via the rear of the property, and it exits onto a street with no sidewalks. So these kids are riding, walking, scooting on the street. It's very dangerous, so.
And it's, again, when we prioritize these, we definitely look at the schools. You know, a lot of these schools were built without the infrastructure to support the 2-mile rule of no busing. So,
Thank
Have
you.
some,
Which is now a mile, or now, what, it used to be a mile, now it's 2 miles?
yes, and it's
2
strictly
miles.
enforced. My sister ran the buses in Bradford. If you felt sorry for somebody, you picked them up across the street from the school, but they don't in Clay County. They're pretty tough on their limits. It's gotta be a good reason.
So Richard, you said this whole list is a 5-year look?
It's a 5-year look ahead, and again, we need to narrow it down on what the current number is.
I'm gonna respectfully say that we need a list to put in the budget. So if you have,
Yes.
so we have $1 million a year to spend on, about $500,000 a year to spend. This is where I think we need direction from the board through Richard to put into the budget so that we actually have these projects planned into the budget when we adopt it. And, because if not, then we have to come back and have you re-adopt amendments and things to the budget. So we'd like to have that
we're gonna
list.
narrow it down,
We'd like you to
basically.
narrow it down through Richard, and we need that
100%.
done in the next week or so because we have our first hearing on September
The
8th. There you go. So, sorry, I didn't mean.
No, I just had question, well, so I know the parks money, the parks identified sidewalks came from the ADA assessment. So I guess my question would be, I'm not suggesting that we don't wanna be in compliance with ADA, but, like, that's a lot of money, and are there other things that we could do in the CDBG for parks that are not just building sidewalks?
And that's at the discretion of the board. The biggest thing with CDBG that we're having an issue with is, in needing the direction earlier in the budget is almost everything that we touch going forward has to have an environmental review done, which means we're posting our website takes 90 days. So we're just trying to lead turn some of that in the budget. So that's where I think if you have direction for Justin or Richard on what you want to see in the parks and what you want to see, give us that list. Let us vet it through the CDBG process to make sure it qualifies, and we can start doing the environmental review. My goal through my staff on the budget and purchasing side is to make sure we're turning this stuff to the point that you and I had of, it's not on a list just sitting there. We're trying to be proactive and turn the environmental reviews. Environmental reviews are now taking 90 to 180 days because we have to do the review, we have to send it to HUD, they have to review it. So that's our goal, is to try to make this stuff not be the point of, we talked about it and it happens 2 years from now. So that's my goal, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I can be fine with the list.
Yeah.
I don't wanna hold up anything.
No, I just mean for you all to have a discussion with staff of what you want on the list. And the sooner we can do that, if we can adopt it into the budget, then it saves one more hurdle.
I guess I was kinda thinking about Commissioner Reniger's point earlier. I mean, if we could use the money and not, I mean, sidewalk is something that if we can't maintain a park, definitely putting a sidewalk there doesn't mean that someone is gonna use it.
And just double checking, all the road sorry, I'm going back one half step. All the road repaving is CIP dollars, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's all I need.
moving on.
And then, just wanted to give you a list of other CIP projects. You know, a lot of your CIP is really focused on public safety, the complex, having money for the complex, the P3, when it gets, awarded, vehicles for the fire rescue and the sheriff's department, and our transportation, you know, graders and things like that. So really just wanted to put together the list of CIP that were main focus for next year.
Madam Chair. I got a couple things on this list. So first, let me preface this by saying, Commissioner Compere, I'm not, this is not personal whatsoever. And I know you've been a huge champion for your residents regarding the Oak Leaf Library. You know, the tough thing for me at this point is it's very fiscally irresponsible for us as a commission to build something that creates capacity that we are responsible to maintain. And Commissioner Ranger said it earlier, you know, we build a park, you have to maintain it. And I think that's where we're at with something like a library. And the thing that's tough is the financial, the economy since 2022 at this point. The economy in the past 2 years that I've been on the commission has changed tremendously. I don't know how if we were to build a library right now, how we are going to operate it without closing other ones. I don't, with all the cuts that we've made, I don't unfortunately see how that's going to happen. So, you know, and I don't know the thoughts of the other commissioners, but you know, that's a lot of money for things that we could spend in the community right now that don't have the recurring cost immediately, like roads. I mean, that's just, I just wanted to bring that up. And I don't know if anyone else has any opinions on that. I've been knee deep in the budget. I've asked a million questions, and I don't see how that gets built and then it's funded without rolling up other ones.
Well, can I fully appreciate you bringing this forward, Commissioner Scarmillo, because I think it's really important for us to talk about how we move forward under these constraints. So to your point, I've been knee deep in the budget also and trying to make sense of all this. But I think that who's better suited to answer the operational question would probably be Troy and Mary, because that's been the crux of the conversations, is how do we continue to meet the need of a community that's been waiting for many gaps in services. How do we meet those needs while also contemplating the concerns that we must balance? And so I would like to kick it to them to give the commission a more comprehensive view of what we've been looking at.
Good morning, Mary Canfield, Library Director for Clay County. So the first thing I'd like to do is discuss some of the positives that are needed in that community, and then yes, sir, I will address your operational requests as well. So one of the positive things for Oak Leaf and the design has been how we're going to be a community resource center. What are we going to do besides just be a library? So our multi-purpose room will serve Aging True. We will be able to have lunch for seniors and then provide programming for seniors in that area as well. After school, we'll also be able to use that area for specific teen programming in addition to the teen room. The large meeting room will provide a voting space for that area. Currently, that portion of Clay County on the west side of Argyle is an underserved area, specifically for early voting. So the closest voting site is in Oak Leaf Eagle Landing, which is the west side of Oak Leaf. It is a small site, similar in size to the Green Cove Springs early voting site. It would be an early voting site for all elections, so it would be federal, state, and local elections. In addition to that, nonprofits could use the meeting space for free to hold their meetings there, and for-profit organizations could rent out the space as well. We also are providing a flex office, was in the design so that other departments from the county could come there and meet with residents such as Veteran Services, the tax assessor, even SBDC could come and meet with their clients there as well. So I did come up with some numbers for you, sir, some approximations for operational expenses. So based on the presentation that I gave last year concerning insurance, fire inspection, pest control, custodial supplies, as well as an increase in a book budget, runs at approximately $84,000 a year. And there are 3 different ways to discuss the salaries that would need to happen for that branch. Originally, when I made this proposal back in July of last year, the intention was to convert full-time to part-time staff so that when this library was to open, we would not have to hire any additional staff. However, and we have been doing that. However, we have also been, through attrition, eliminating positions within the library to make us leaner. So there are 3 different options as far as salaries are concerned. We could keep all 6 branches open and reduce our hours from 9 to 8 Monday through Thursday to 10 to 7, which was part of the original plan. And we would need approximately $220,000 for salaries because we would need 5 part-time staff to staff it as well as to promote someone to a branch manager.
Excuse me, Mary, could you slow down and go back?
Yes, ma'am, I certainly
that.
can.
Repeat that.
You're talking about for the salaries, ma'am?
Just repeat the 6 branches.
Yes, ma'am. So if all 6 branches were to remain open, the 5 plus the new one, and we were to reduce our hours Monday through Thursday, which was our original plan, from 9 to 8 Monday through Thursday to 10 to 7, we currently would need 5 part-time staff, as well as promoting someone to a branch manager, which would then mean we'd have an opening somewhere else. Based on the salaries and the fringe that Aubrey and I have discussed in the past, that's approximately $220,000. If we reduce the hours, same as the first option, and we close the lowest performing branch and were to move their staff to that branch, we would still need 1 full-time person and 1 part-time person, including with the reduction in hours at approximately $83,000. If we kept the hours the same and we closed a branch, we would still need 3 full-time staff and 1 part-time staff, and that is approximately $216,000. And with the full-time staff, I estimated them on each of the different levels, an entry-level staff, a middle staff, and a higher staff, because we would need children's people is there as well.
So closing 1 branch, you're only gonna save $4,000? Is that what you just said?
Yes, ma'am, if we kept the hours the same. If we close a branch, it would be $83,000, excuse me. If we keep the current hours and close the branch, we would need more staff.
Mary, which branch is the lowest performing?
Currently, it's the Green Cove Springs Library.
If I may, Mary?
Yes, sir.
I think one of the things that's changed since our initial proposal is that Mary's gone through a staff reduction through the budget cuts. So when we originally planned this, we had planned, hey, we have enough staff that we can support.
Moving people.
We could
yeah.
move people, but I
Yeah.
think the key thing now is to understand that since that initial proposal, she's further reduced staff due to the budget constraints. So we don't have that staff, that extra staff to move as originally was the plan. Just
That's correct. Yes, sir.
And Monday through Thursday, reduced hours, that means no Friday, Saturday hours?
Oh, no, ma'am. It just means we're gonna open an hour later on Mondays and close an hour later on Thursdays. Fridays
That's
and
what the reduced hours
no,
is.
those the reduction is at the opening and at the closing, and those are our lowest participation hours in the branches anyway. Fridays and Saturdays we would still be open 9 to 5.
9 to 5.
But May, it would allow you to go to 1 shift at the libraries.
Correct.
Versus the split shift that you have now, which is an
Correct.
increase in staffing.
Yes, sir.
So by cutting the hour in the morning and hour in the afternoon, it allows her to get down to 1 staff member shift. Yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair.
Mhm.
Chris, could you speak to the importance of polling places in this district?
Yeah, I'd like to know what was the, how many, I don't know, you probably don't know how many people went to that Eagle Landing for early voting. I mean, what, was there interest? Is there interest out there as far, or is it busy? Also, if you could add to that.
It certainly is. Chris Chambliss, Supervisor of Elections. The early voting site currently, as it is in Eagle Landing right now, is in a space that's roughly about 1,000 square feet. However, it is filled with pool tables and other types of areas, so it's not a true 1,000 square feet. In this last election, we had roughly about 1,500 voters that would go to the Eagle Landing location. And now, one of the issues is, and I refer to this as the Conkey Causeway, of course, separating or bifurcating the Argyle area from the Oakleaf area, is that there is a substantial amount of individuals that do not make that trip across to the west, if you will, over to the Eagle Landing side, but rather go to Jacksonville or the Argyle area. It is underserved significantly with regards to early voting. Individuals previously, if you think about the Argyle, Cheswick Oaks area that would also be served by this library, currently right now, had it not been for the Argyle Elementary School, which is the only public school that the elections has a polling location in, mostly because of the Janice Lunsford Act, and then, of course, the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas event. And so they would have to drive into Jacksonville, down to Blanding Boulevard, either to the Orange Park Library or to going over to Thrasher Horn. It's really a situation to where the public just does not have adequate services for voting in that area. Also, if you look at those areas, you'll see that there is a great deal of pressure on election day in those locations due to the fact that there's not adequate early voting. And so typically those locations, while the voting ends at 7 p.m., the deputy steps to the rear of the line signifying the last voter, and those are some of the last polling locations to clear all of their voters out on election day because the lines are so long. And so, purely from the needs, and while Miss Mary mentioned early voting, let me also state that this would be a polling location as well, as currently in that area right now, it is in a community meeting room that's less the size of square foot that's in their pool park. So it would also replace that as well. Remember, it's very important, even in this last election, that we had 60% of the vote happens prior to election day. So there are large numbers. And when you talk about especially scaling up to presidential elections in some of our highest locations will serve 3,000 individuals a day at a specific location. Now, while I don't feel that you're going to have Oakleaf immediately reach those levels, I think that the reason why the usage of early voting in the Oakleaf area is due to lack of availability.
So, Chris, if we can't build a $6.3 million library, I mean, there's other places we could have polling locations, correct?
Well, there are very few locations over in that area for polling locations, hence the reason why that we're in the Argyle Elementary School. Typically, a lot of facilities, such as in that area, we are in churches. Churches, of course, are great for Tuesday because they're built for Sunday. It's not good for early voting. because early voting, you're talking about up to a 2-week period, up to 12 hours a day. And there's no private facilities that really want to give you that location for that. There was also an athletics center that's over on the Oakleaf side. However, their room was up on the second floor, which makes it difficult for voters to ingress and egress. And they did not have an elevator, which made it hard for ADA requirements for that. So it's really quite a problem. Now, the board has seemed to address that in recent years through the idea of these multi-purpose rooms that are available at fire stations, at libraries, that will enable us to get into the community. And I think one of the things that I've always said is that when we develop these planned communities, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to have a community room as a part of the agreement with the community development district or what have you with that. Those are some ways that you can think out of the box to try to provide adequate voting, because I'm confident that none of us are happy, even with the last 25.34%. Again, I tell everybody, when you have a 25% turnout, that means that 75% of the money that you paid for that election, because we prepare for 100%, is wasted. Okay, so I believe that this is an urgent need to have at that location. I'll leave it for you to decide whether it needs to be at the library or another county facility. But the need is there.
Madam Chair. Chris, first, man, congratulations. You know, I am excited to be in the state of Florida with elections. You know, I was watching the polls come in. I think it was like, for me, on my refresh, it was 7:48 final results the night of.
Mm-hmm.
Some other places that can't seem to happen. So
Take that, California.
Yeah. I was very, very happy. Great job by you and your team, and you stole my notes. But I want to reiterate that to the community, that we have 153,596 active voters, registered voters, and 25% of those showed up at the polls. So your tax dollars funded 153,596 people showing up, and only 25% of those did. And just to reiterate your comments, I just don't see the proper use of money to spend $6.3 million for a polling location. We can come up with another way to do it. But congratulations on a great season.
I have a great team, and I certainly want to publicly give a shout out to not only the county teams, but also Clay Electric. We for the first time ever, we lost power at 6 polling locations. 6 polling locations without power. Now, understand that each one of the voting pieces of equipment has a battery backup for a certain amount of time, but thankfully, because of the foresight of this board and the board before you, thought that it was important enough to provide for battery or for backup generators, and we utilized 12 of those at those 6 locations so the process could continue. I have to tell you, that is huge when many other counties had to prolong or turn away voters, and in Clay County that didn't happen. My hat off to each one of you.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris.
Madam Chair, although we had a 25% turnout countywide, do you have any data for the precincts up in Oakleaf?
I certainly do, not at my hand right now. I can tell you that even at 25.34%, that was the highest turnout in the last 5 primary election seasons. So when we talk about, a low turnout, I still have to give a shout out that it was a worthwhile turnout.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. This this a decision we have to make right now for this library?
You don't, I mean, this is just what's in your CIP going forward. This is the decision. It will stay in your CIP until this board decides to do something different if they so choose. So, yeah, this is in your CIP
I mean,
moving
I
forward.
would like to probably at least wait till after November.
That's the board's discretion.
That's only me.
I still think with or without November, we've cut 35 positions by attrition, and then we're gonna add positions back. I don't, plus 88, what was it? 84,000 in operating. I mean, listen, like I said, it's not that I wouldn't love to provide that. It's just times are different. We got different priorities. So I personally do right now, but.
By the way, we're also, for the public, we're down to, we are operating with 3 county managers, and we also do not have a deputy, assistant county manager, sorry. And deputy county manager is also going to be eliminated, so, I keep on hearing about those kind of things, just to let everybody know.
So just next steps in the process is the EDR revenue projections. As I mentioned earlier, those are starting to roll in, so we will continue to update our budget as we do daily. And then on September 8th will be our first public hearing for the balanced budget, and then the final adoption will come before you on September 22nd. So pending any other discussions or questions, that is what we had to present you today.
That's them.
You know, the elephant in the room is, and it's been brought up and discussed somewhat tonight, or this afternoon, or this morning, stormwater. And that is included in this proposed budget. If it is, can someone give me a crystal ball if we don't go that route? What does it really mean?
If you decide not to implement stormwater, which is factored into your budget, then that means you're gonna cut the capital projects that we've budgeted for stormwater. And in addition, that means you're gonna have to find about $5 million in maintenance expense money from other places in the budget.
Which would be where?
Whatever's at your discretion, but I can tell you there's no other projects to cut, so you would probably be looking at a reduction in service. Which means cutting people most likely. I mean, unless there's other direction from the board or the county manager.
And it's a large number, from what I've heard. Large number of people.
Yeah, it'd be a large number. I mean, also, when you cut back services, we're talking about those quality of life services, library, parks and rec, facilities, those type of areas. If you shutter the library, well, you heard kind of Mary's talk of what it cost annually to run a library, so there would be some sort of savings there if we did that. But a majority, a bulk of that $5 million would be in personnel. Yeah.
And I've heard from one constituent that was a cop-out, so it's not a cop-out, it's reality. It is reality. It's these people out here that have jobs here, that have families, so not a cop-out at all. Where we're at.
One other area just to bring up, well, I guess it wouldn't never mind. No, I'm wrong on that one. I was trying to think of another area, but that's really it. I mean, when you start to look at it, you may get confused of would be, from capital projects and that, but we can't, that's not funding the general fund.
All right, so MJ, Joy, thank y'all so much. If there's no questions, we'll go on to commissioner comments. What's that?
Me?
You have any?
Okay, yeah, this is hard. I mean, if you want to know what a commissioner loses sleep over, it's this. We have to make some difficult decisions. We have to amend for errors in the past. We have to, but the buck stops here. So you elected us to make the best decisions for the most people in the community, and that's what I think this commission has done in the past 6 budgets that or 5 budgets that I've been experienced with here, and I think we're gonna do the same thing this year. We're not gonna satisfy everybody. There's gonna be somewhat of a pain across the board. But nonetheless, we will come up with the best use of our resources that we have. And we'll be looking to the future. We got to plan for the future, as you heard today about, we're looking at the impact of the decisions we make today and how they impact the future, 5, 10 years out. So sometimes it's not very obvious, but trust me, we do a lot of homework to get to this decision, and we're going to do a lot more till we get to the final budget, September 22nd? Okay, so that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Compare?
Yeah, I echo Commissioner Reniger's comments. This is tough, but we're rolling up our sleeves and we're sharpening our pencil. But I have to take my hat off to staff. This is hard, exponentially harder on them, I would say, trying to manage what we're presenting to them and also make it work. One of the comments that I've noticed on social media, or maybe it's the tenor of the times, that folks are not too sure about the parameters we must work within in order to comply with state statutes and sometimes federal guidelines. And I just want to make it a point that it's probably easier to pick up the phone and call the county manager or call any one of the 5 of us to get clarity on an issue than it is to look at the documents as you see them, because there's so much more. It's far more intricate, and I'd even venture out to say that my counterparts and I want those phone calls. Let's talk about it, because it's a hard thing to deal with and work through assumptions that are made. That wall is very high once you've arrived to a decision. And I welcome the conversations about where dollars and cents are actually allocated and how we have to spend them. Those are great conversations to be having. So you see it. It's a lot of work. I'm losing sleep over a lot of this too, but I'm grateful for the opportunity to represent you in this process. Clay County's been talking about DOGE and being more fiscally responsible for as long as I've lived here, and that's over 3 decades, which isn't much compared to some of you all, but my heart is in it, our hearts are in it, and it's a blessing to be a part of even the difficult conversations. And so I value your input, and I encourage you to continue to call, continue to text, continue to email, because we do want to know. And then my final thought is staff, again, exceptional work. Hats off to you. You're doing a lot, and I want to recognize that time, energy, and talent.
Thank you. Commissioner Scrumlow?
A lot of the same. I just think the biggest thing is, in the leanest of times, your choices show your priorities. And to me, I'd like to get caught up in funding public safety, emergency management, roads, drainage, all of our public infrastructure. That's what I want to get caught up in. And I think that's something that you're going to see this board over the next couple of months have some choices to make as far as what's truly important to the people that we represent. And that's what we're going to have to do. I want to apologize today if my candor was a little brash. I have, like you guys have said, I don't do well on not much sleep, and it really has been. And I think, Troy, we've had many 9 p.m. phone calls, and MJ and Richard, and you guys are in the trenches just right alongside us, and Howard and Courtney, and Sharice. I appreciate you guys always picking up the phone. And even though I asked some wild questions, but nevertheless, that's how we get to where we need to get to. And Same thing for the four of you sitting up here. You know, it's tough. It's tough. And I think the fact that we're able to professionally, eloquently lay out our personal beliefs and work together to make sure that Clay County moves forward during these tough economic times is what I hope that all of us are remembered by, as we made the best decisions for the county to keep it the great place that it is. So, thanks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am also very grateful for staff. Most of this room is staff, and I'm grateful for the service of each and every one of you. We know that you do more with little, and we appreciate that. We appreciate the long hours and the time that has gone into this work. My second comment is most of the public, or not most of the public, I would say, but there are, as a category of the public that wants us to engage and debate on social media, most namely Facebook. And your local government, different than any other segment of government, is bound by something in Florida called the Sunshine Law. And the Sunshine Law says that the five of us are not allowed to talk about anything that we are going to vote on outside of a publicly advertised meeting. And Facebook is not a publicly advertised meeting. And so while it may be easy for you, and I've gotten caught up in, I've commented on things, and I've probably put myself at risk at times of violating the Sunshine Law in the past. And so I'm not going to do that going forward. I'm not going to engage in that debate on social media. And you can call me any name you want to call me. And you can say that I'm not willing to put it out there so that the public can read the comments. Well, that's not what the Sunshine. I took an oath that I would follow the Sunshine Law. And this law in the state of Florida says that I cannot do anything that could indicate to any of these others how I will vote on something ahead of time, nor can anyone else be used as a conduit. So, like, I can't call a staff member or my brother, my husband, my friend, and say, hey, make sure you get word to X commissioner that this is the direction this is going. And so I've seen people say, why aren't commissioners commenting? In the past, when I have commented and people have complimented me that, you know, usually this commissioner will jump in. Well, there are other counties with current commissioners under Sunshine Law investigation, and I'm just not going to put myself at that risk. I've toured the jail. I am not cut out for it. So I'm going to do everything that I can to stay on this side with the green, with the uniformed staff members that I'm grateful for, instead of having to have them haul me off. And with that, you know, we did run for election, and you have a right to have freedom of speech in America, and you can call us names. You can't threaten us under the laws, under the First Amendment, but you can call us names, but it doesn't I had a constituent say to me that by signing up for this, I signed up to be a punching bag, that she could say anything that she wanted to me, and that's what I signed up for. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. There's civility in America, and we have a representative form of government. So the people who want to know why certain things are not on your ballot for vote, everything in Clay County that you think should be on the ballot for voting, that's not what America was built on. We're a representative republic, not a democracy. And so maybe America's not the country for you, and you can debate that offline. But I didn't come up with it. The Founding Fathers did, and it has worked well for 250 years if we celebrate it this year. But we have a representative form of government, and 4 of the commissioners sitting up here were all either elected or reelected without opposition. So it's not something that has just recently happened in Clay County. But if you think you can do it better, there'll be commission races in 2 years.
Hallelujah.
And 3 of the seats will be on the ballot, and you can challenge them. And then the other thing that I wanted to point out that I think Commissioner Compare just kind of to like go a little bit deeper into something that you indicated, is that budgeting at the county level, in the government level, is not the same as the private sector or your home budget. So in my household, we have a grocery budget, and if things get tight, I can't decide I'm going to use grocery money to pay my car payment. I can do that at home. I cannot do that. We cannot do that at the county level, at the government level. You can do it on certain things. So when you hear the budget staff talk about the general fund, that money can be used discretionarily. But all the different buckets. So I had someone say, well, while you collect all this money with the garbage fee, you should be able to use it elsewhere. Or you collect this money with sales taxes, or gas taxes, you should be able to use it. Well, we can't. So if you don't like that, these are all Tallahassee-driven laws, and that we have to follow. So those are just a few things, Madam Chair, that came to mind, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to share.
Very good. Thank you very much to everyone, all of my fellow commissioners, staff, wonderful job. I would say, along the same lines with Facebook, if you don't know if it's true, first off, don't believe it. Second off, ask us, okay? Because that is the most frustrating thing. I think as long as I heard another staff member say, it's so easy to put it out there. And just because it's there doesn't mean it's true, okay? Most things on Facebook probably are not true, except for pictures of family. I mean, actually it's AI, so it's probably not even true either. Never mind. Anyway, see everyone next Tuesday. So excited about it, and meeting is adjourned.